Good morning and welcome to the new edition of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. India banned a number of Chinese apps and that caused a trend. Now other countries have started doing the same and this is creating a new battlefield for the political leaders. This is the battleground where they create such situation that would reveal their strategy and it's another weapon that's being used, rightly or wrongly. There's something different. The latest action from the White House is in continuation of hugely popular banning of TikTok. And TikTok was a seemingly very innocent app, 1.5 minute videos full of comedy, even burlesque, and many times absolutely stupid. But when the Chinese committed aggression in East Ladakh, India banned TikTok along with a number of other apps. And few could have anticipated that this banning would create a new dimension in the geopolitics of the world. And now TikTok is at the center of a rapidly expanding digital war. And the digital war is between China and USA, and both represent different ideas. They have their own concepts, democracy and dictatorship, totalitarianism, but the main is the quest for power. Both countries want to be number one. US is number one. And the Theoditis complex of China is at the root of the actions of the White House. As a matter of fact, my people in White House informed me that Modi is an inspiration for Trump in many cases. And especially this action of Modi when he banned TikTok and others, created at first an amusement and then serious thought. And the latest victim of this geopolitical duel is WeChat. It's more than a chat app, WeChat. It's often the primary means of staying in touch with our friends and family back home, and the Chinese diaspora all over the world use it. And there is a feeling all over the world that most of the Chinese overseas have sympathies and affinity with their motherland. And having affinity is not bad, but many times it's suspected that they play the role of a fifth column. So the decision of US President Donald Trump to order American firms stop doing business with WeChat has sent shockwaves rippling out. WeChat has become the IT tool rather, for Chinese speaking people, no matter where you are around the world. And that is one Shanghai resident told BBC. More than a billion people use this app. It's a primarily a social networking app, but can be used for a host of other activities like shopping, gaming, and even dating. But it has a less innocent side. Look, this is what happens in the Chinese apps. As I told you in one of my comments, that all Chinese businesses have to, under law, carry out the directions of the intelligence services. They are the arms of Chinese intelligence. And WeChat is seen as a key instrument of Chinese internal surveillance apparatus. So, President Trump labeled WeChat as a threat to US national security, accused of gathering vast swaths of user data, threatening American personal and proprietary information. The owner, Tencent, has been ordered to sell the app by mid September or face a ban on US operations. Same is happening to TikTok. Either they are sold out or they'll be banned. And many Chinese feel that the move to block WeChat is an attack on their culture, the people, and most important, the state. And in response to Trump, Chinese Foreign Ministry has accused America of using national security as a cover for expansionism. Now, when Delhi announced banning TikTok and other Chinese apps in June, it immediately started a narrative in Washington. And US President Trump has done better than India government. Like Delhi, Washington is using the same concerns as a national security. But then they are businessmen. So rather than simply banning TikTok, Washington is persuading the owners, the Chinese internet company that owns TikTok, which is called ByteDance, to hand over the business to US technology giant Microsoft. And Trump's threat that he might ban TikTok set in motion a frenzied negotiation between ByteDance and Microsoft. I agree that people like Bill Gates don't like it. But then, when the government wants, you have got to buy it or you suffer. So Trump does not just want an American taker of TikTok, but the best possible terms for United States. He is appearing to be intervening, and for the first time, a US president is intervening in negotiations, directing them, and for this purpose, he talked to Satya Nadella. And Microsoft's admitted that it's ready to oblige the president and is committed to acquire TikTok, subject to complete security review. Now, negotiations with ByteDance involve more than TikTok operations in Canada and USA primarily. Microsoft wants to take over the TikTok market in USA, but most important in Canada. Canada is a huge Chinese diaspora and a huge Indian diaspora. So when they take over, India has banned TikTok in India, but it cannot ban in Canada. So that gap which has been left by India is sought to be fulfilled by Washington, so that the Indians here also cannot use TikTok. The information over there cannot be sent to China if Microsoft takes it over. And they don't want to take it only on US and Canada, they want to take it in Australia and New Zealand also. So all these countries where Indian diaspora is very strong, they want to take over. They are also committed to meet all the administrative national security concerns. So American critics, the critics of Trump, insinuate that the president has a personal beef with TikTok that was reportedly used to inflate the confirmation to attend his elections in Tulsa, Arizona, with the result that not many people attended it. They show that they have confirmed sitting, but all them were absentees. So let's assume for a moment that an embarrassed Trump is getting even with the Chinese act. That does not in any way reduce the political salience of the US president. It's a strike against TikTok, and it doesn't even camouflage Microsoft's commercial interest in acquiring an app that can help the technical giant's glaring absence in social media. Till now, Microsoft is not in social media. But with Microsoft taking over TikTok, it would be giving a tough competition to Facebook, to YouTube, that's Google. So it will be entering a new area. Now, Chinese Global Times, as I wrote in one of my articles, is essentially a mouthpiece of the Chinese government and, more important, Chinese Communist Party. So Global Time has a different point of view. This Sunday they published an editorial and they called US decision a barbaric act of a rogue government. No, abusing the government doesn't help. But then that's what the Chinese ordinarily do. Xenophobic, anti-people, rogue, barbarous, all those adjectives which have no meaning are used. And they also condemned it as hunting and looting of TikTok by US government in conjunction with US high-tech companies. But mind you, they did not use the name Microsoft. The mainstream comment in US media says that Trump's digital war with China is self-defeating. But the intelligence believes that tide would be turning in America's favor in this new digital confirmation. Now, what the geopolitical situation has changed, what I want to point out is earlier the battles used to be the battlefields. Then came the nuclear. Then came the cyber warfare. Then came the space and cyber. And now it's a digital. And digital is going to cover both the actual battlefield, cyber warfare, and space warfare. And that's why, India is acquiring now the technology, are developing the technology so that they can attack the drones. One thing is very clear that Washington had very successful campaign against Chinese telecom companies, Huawei and ZTE. Now, interestingly, USA does not have any technology for G5 and there's no candidate of USA, any technology company, which can roll out 5G technology. But the Trump administration went out of the way to persuade its allies like England, Australia, and others to abandon Huawei. Trump is now embarked on a more consequential mission at home to redefine ties between US and Chinese technology companies. Chinese have declared and they are openly working against the Trump candidature in the coming elections. And that's why Mike Pompeo indicated that takeover of TikTok is just the first step. And you would see in the next 10 to 15 days that many more such steps will be taken. Till now, Beijing was very confident in its assessment that it could exclude US apps like Facebook, Gmail, and Twitter from its market, but continue to exploit the US market for the advance of the digital entities. They were very hesitant to abandon Chinese market, meant the US companies were happy to swallow the humiliation. And China was humiliating Facebook, Twitter, and others. But then, when US Attorney General Barr, he sent a clear message to Apple, Google, Microsoft, and Disney. He told them not to forget their American identity and heritage, and their obligation under the US law. Now, if you read my article this Friday, that Chinese businesses own these companies like Google and General Motors and General Electrics because they have bought their majority shares. But he told them, Bar, that okay, financially you're controlled by them, but in the policy you'll be controlled by US laws. And he told the US corporate bosses that they might not see themselves as lobbyists for China. He reminded them of the danger of being used by China and considered them, if they continue to behave like that, as foreign agents. That means traitors. The Foreign Agents Registration Act does not prohibit lobbying but demand that they be registered with the government. And now, once these giants are registered as lobbyists for the foreign government, then they are doomed. There can be severe penalties. He also told US companies that they may view themselves as global citizens, but they should remember that it was America which allowed them to succeed in the first place. It was the American enterprise system, the rule of law, and the security given by the America's economic, technological, and military strength. So might this be that the offense against the extended nexus between US companies and China might end if Joe Biden wins? In a politics and in an election, you can never be sure. Though at present, 99% Trump is likely to win. But even if Joe Biden wins, by the time he steps in White House at the January 20, a sufficient action would have been taken that will be difficult for him to unravel it. The deep state in Washington has made up its mind on the urgency of coping with the Chinese digital threat. The attitude across the political spectrum, absolutely, towards China is hardening now. So Trump is wins or loses, Chinese are not going to gain. And the credit for this goes to Modi's action in June. You see, it's quite possible that digital decoupling between US and China would take a long time, if it happens at all. And it's going to happen. And the new rules would emerge to define the terms of engagement. You know, in this connection, I'd like to mention the action of Trump, who boosted the stock prices of Kodak. Again, for the first time, that the president himself was involved in the stock market, indirectly, of course. And this famous US company that was going bankrupt by making cameras in the age of smartphones now is using Defense Production Act and $765 billion they are getting from federal government to start producing drugs, generic drugs, and pharmaceutical ingredients. So Trump is using now the digital warfare as a means to cope with the external and internal economic challenge. It's an absolutely new dimension to the geopolitical scene. The new American consensus appears to be in synchronization with India's recent turn towards decoupling from China. And there's a plan to rearrange the digital engagement within a new firm framework of trusted political leaderships. Let's see what the new rules are going to be. But this dueling, this digital warfare is definitely going to be a game changer. And that is going to impact the whole thing. Let's wait and watch, and I assure you it's going to be quite interesting and enlivening. Think about it. Thank you.